Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Today, I'm bringing you the first video of 2021. Hope everyone made it out last year safe, enjoyed the holidays and the new year. But I'm bringing you a player profile, something I'm going to start doing. Going to be a quick look at a few players I either like, don't like, sleepers, people I think that are going to be reaches at where they're taken, based on EDP. I know there's 1 week left in the season, so you could call it a little early, but I think we've seen more than enough over the course of the season to start making videos and analyses like these. And the first guy up on my list is Austin Ekeler. He's somebody who I've been a fan of since 2 years ago when he really burst onto the scene. I'm a huge fan of his game, what he does, and how he produces in fantasy. I was in on him 2 years ago, was in on him last year, in on him this year, and I'm really going to be in on him next year. So in on him, in fact, that I'm going to plant my flag right here in this video that he will be a top 3 running back in fantasy football. Have PPR and PPR formats. Standard, it's tough because he's a pass catcher, but I'll get more into that as the video actually starts. Real quick before I hop in, if you enjoy this type of content, you like fantasy football and player analyses, all that type of stuff, subscribe, leave a like. I'm going to have way more coming as the season progresses, as the offseason gets further, as we approach both draft season and redraft season and startup season, all that type of shit. I'm going to be the go-to channel for that type of content. So if you like it, once again, leave a like and subscribe. So first up on the list of things that I feel like it's important to talk about is job security. With running backs, this is something that you really never see. It's very tough to find a guy who's going to be secure, get that second contract, but Austin Ekeler did just that. This past offseason, he signed a 4-year, $24.5 million extension. His team has faith in him enough to sign him to that second contract as a running back. And to be quite honest, they got him at an absolute bargain of around about $6 million a year. Not only that, he's the safety valve and is tethered to one of the brightest young stars in the sport at the most important position, Justin Herbert. Following up job security, I want to touch on both his receiving and rushing projections if he had played a full 16 games with Herbert this year. For the receiving, he averaged 8 targets, 6 catches, 52 receiving yards, and 0.1 touchdowns per week over a 16-game slate. If you draw that out, it gives you 128 targets, 96 receptions, 832 yards, and 1.6 touchdowns. This will likely place him in this season's top 15 overall target list. Granted, Week 17 could shake it up. That's why I said roundabout. And it would make him by and away the running back target leader unless Alvin Kamara gets about 20 next week, which isn't happening because of COVID. So Eckler is firmly established in this projection, in this hypothetical, as the target leader for running backs. Onto rushing, his per-game average is 12.6 carries for 59.4 yards, 0.1 touchdowns. Only scored 2 on the year. Injuries didn't really do much in the goal line, but that extrapolates out to 201.6 carries for 950.4 yards and 1.6 touchdowns. Nothing really crazy or out of the ordinary here, no outstanding numbers, but he does average 4.7 yards per carry here, which is a more than solid number to see. It's nice to see him being efficient. So if you calculate those into half PPR fantasy points, they take you to about 245.4, 140.8 for the receiving, 104.6 for the rushing. And if you subtract a week to account for bye, so it would be a 15-week schedule, 1 through 16 minus a bye if you play in a 16-week format, that will leave him at 230 half PPR fantasy points. If you take either of those numbers, 245.4 or 230, that would make him this year's running back 4 on the year. A super impressive number that he really likely would have hit, given both the injury landscape and the overall muddiness of the position, as well as his comfort with Herbert. In terms of a point-per-game basis, he was looking at 15.3 based on that 7-game slate, extrapolated out. 8th highest for the year. Yet again, not bad. Very solid number. Would leave him firmly in the running back 1 discussion if he was healthy for this full season. Moving on from his projections as a player, we're going to move on to some ideas or projections I think are going to happen. I think it's very likely that Anthony Lynn gets fired this offseason. He just simply hasn't put out a winning product with the amount of talent on this roster. Yes, I know there are injuries, but there's far too much talent overall on this roster to be consistently underperforming like this. Not only that, I feel like play caller Shane Steichen could be relieved of his duties. While checkdowns and those dump-offs are really important to a running back's receiving success, they do also show comfort between a quarterback and running back, which I feel like is super important, especially coming from a rookie to a bit of a veteran. Early trust can only further develop. I feel like if you get a new play caller in, you can start to open up this playbook, these receiving work, for a more developed route tree, which Eckler has, which can allow Herbert to utilize one of his best talents, which is his absolute cannon of an arm. So the checkdowns and dump-offs will definitely stay. Those are very positive from Herbert and Eckler, but we do get a new offensive mind in here and a new head coach. Hopefully you get a guy who can really expand the offense and utilize Austin Ekeler as that really, really good dual threat running back we all know him to be. Now, despite all this bad coaching and horrific play calling we see week in, week out from the Chargers, this offense is actually doing pretty well for itself, especially with the rookie quarterback at the helm. They're 8th in the league in both yards and yards per game, and they lead the league with offensive plays at 70.5, the highest number in the league. That's incredibly impressive, and the more plays you run, obviously the more opportunities you get, and I don't think this offense moves away from its high-octane style anytime soon. Even with the new shift of coaching, I feel like they can only bring that number higher, even and exploit the talent that's here in this offense. The only slightly worrying thing is that their points per game total is 21st with 23.5 points per game. But with better coaching and play calling, this number could easily be boosted up into the top half. You have more than enough talent on the offensive end to score more points. It's just not there this season. And the more you score, the better it could be for Eckler, who's already producing at a very, very high level despite not really scoring all that many touchdowns. Another stat about this offense that I feel like is really interesting and really highlights the potential he has is that the Chargers are second in the league in running back targets with 146, behind only the Washington football team, who have, I believe, 152. If you were to take Eckler's projection I mentioned earlier over a 16-game pace of 128 targets and made him his own team, where he was the only running back getting targets, he would be 4th in the league. That's absolutely insane. If you want to factor those in and do a little bit of math and work out what would be left of the other running back targets, there's no doubt in my mind the Chargers will be first by at least 15 targets. And I know I've been referencing those 16-game paces. They are not the most reliable for hyper-accurate numbers. I doubt those are very on the mark either way next season. Rather, I feel like they're a way to really see what we could be working with this season in a smaller sample size, as well as try and project what we could get from next year. Moving on from that to his opportunity in this offense and this backfield, all of the stats I'm going to calculate real quick, let me just say it, are going to be based on his his 7 full games with Justin Herbert, which are weeks 2, 3, and then 12 through 16. I could add 17 to this afterwards. I might make another one farther down the line once we get closer to the season. But for now, I'm working off of this 7 full game sample size, as I feel that's the most representative of the work he did this year and portrays the best of what he could do next year. So in those 7 games, he averaged a 70.1% touch share out of the backfield and a 66.7% snap share of all running backs in those 7 games. He averaged 16.2.5 PPR per game, which would be the 7th best number on the year. He had 8 targets per game on the team, which would be 2nd highest behind Keenan Allen. 56 total targets, some quick math right there. A stat that I think is really interesting to hit on is that in his absence, which was about 6.75 weeks, or part of week 4 all the way up until week 11, every other running back only totaled 44 targets. So in 7 full weeks with Herbert, Eckler had 56 by himself. In just about 7 weeks, every other running back combined didn't even touch 45. I think that's a huge stat to show that not only is the coaching staff confident in him, but Herbert likes him and relies on him. It isn't going to be a next man up situation like it is in certain offenses. Miami's the one that comes to mind, where the next guy who's up, next guy who's healthy gets those touches. It's not going to work like that. Eckler is their guy, and more importantly, Eckler is Herbert's guy. And when you have a quarterback that young, he finds his safety blanket, he finds his comfort guy, and it's looking like that's going to be Austin Ekeler moving forward in next year and beyond. Another quick thing to consider, although it didn't impact everybody, a full offseason and training camp together could really help strengthen chemistry, another offseason, more comfort in the offense from all of these guys. And I highlight this specifically because Herbert was a rookie. He doesn't really look like it or play like it most of the times, but he didn't really have that first training camp or offseason with his team, with the offense that is honestly really useful. So you give him another year, let him bond with these guys. I feel like the comfort level will only go up. His potential to thrive in this offense, if it gets better play callers, will only go up. Therefore, I see Eckler's potential going all the way up for next year. So, in conclusion, I am absolutely all in on Austin Ekeler next year. Any draft I'm in, I'm going to be going out of my way to get shares of him. I think his past production, his present production, what he can do in the future, his already present chemistry with Herbert, and the high-octane ability of this offense to put up yards, even if they're not scoring and just run plays at such a high clip, it all has me really believing in what Eckler can do next year. For all this, I'm going to call my shot now. If it misses, so be it. I'm confident in the statement that Austin Eckler will finish next year as a top 3 fantasy running back and have PPR and PPR formats. That's going to be it for today, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video. I sure did. I had a blast making this, not only because Eckler is one of my guys. I absolutely love him every year, almost inexplicably, except I gave you plenty of reasons to buy in on him next year. But I just like this type of content. I feel like doing some statistical work, projections, all that type of stuff, taking into account offense proficiency, coaching staff, player ability. I feel like all of that's really fun and can make for pretty interesting and entertaining content. If you agree, leave a like and subscribe. Drop a comment. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Leave a comment telling me what I can do better. All in all, let's start off 2021 with a bang. Let's keep it moving. Let's hope this year is better than the last. And that's going to be it for me tonight, guys. See ya.